Hello everyone, Jeff here, back with another Spin Zone video, quickly after the last one that I posted. It's amazing how much music you can listen to when you have a couple days off. That's how it usually goes for me. But of course I go back to work tonight on third shift for a couple of nights. And then I took the weekend off as vacation because my anniversary is coming up on Sunday. So I had to be off for that so I could spend the day with my beautiful wife, and we'll be celebrating 6 years of wedded bliss. I have 5 records here to show you that I've listened to rather quickly in the last few days. The first one I showed in my last video, this was the Albert King. I got this Saturday on Record Store Day in the leftover RSD boxes that they had there, and just like with the Albert King and Stevie Ray Vaughan one, I played this one right away, and it's just awesome. I mean, pretty much every single song is a winner. And it's got that classic 60s guitar sound. And I don't know who the backing band is because there's not much in the way of liner notes, but it sounds a lot like Booker T and the MGs. Being a Stax record, I didn't do any research or anything, I'm just guessing, but that's sure what it sounds like. And his playing and singing are spot on. So if you're looking for a good blues album with lots of good guitar and that 60s soul sound, this is the album for you here. Born Under a Bad Sign by Albert King. It's really good, let me tell you. And then almost a complete 180 from that. This is one of my wife's all-time favorite albums, Pearl Jam 10, of course. I should take these out of the sleeves so I don't get... That cuts down on the glare a little bit. There we go. Yeah. I like Pearl Jam. I don't love Pearl Jam. But most of the songs by them that I like live on this album. So this was another good one to listen to. And in all honesty, I haven't listened to this album completely from beginning to end before. So... in many ways, it was kind of a first listen for me. So it was nice. I like Pearl Jam. They're okay. And, of course, it wouldn't be a Spin Zone without another Little Feat album. We're closing in on the end here, folks. This is Waiting for Columbus. This is their double live album. And in many ways, I'll just quickly show you the gatefold. You can see the note there. There's the band. This is kind of like the Frampton Comes Alive for Little Feat. It's a double live album, and a lot of these songs that I'd been listening to in the studio version just get pumped up and they have way more energy in a live setting. However much sweetening was done post-production, I don't really care. It's just a great sounding album. So I know I said this last time, I think when I put Time Loves a Hero, when I showed that. That's a great studio album, but this is probably the one, if you only wanted to do one album by them just to find out what they're all about, this would be the one to get, Waiting for Columbus by Little Feat. I have one more by them, which I'm going to be listening to soon, and then my listening project for Little Feat will be done. I like them, but I'm be glad to move on to something else. Okay, for these last 2 albums, I do listening projects like I said with Little Feat, where I'll pick up a run of albums, maybe not their entire catalog, but a good number of them. And I'll listen to them. I try to listen to them in short order and go through them fairly quickly. it took longer for me with Little Feat just because I wasn't nuts about their music. I mean, I liked it. I'm glad I did it. Glad I have these records. But Neil Young is another one that I've got a ton of albums for. And I'd gone back and I started from his first solo album and started listening through all the ones I have, which are almost all of his 70s albums up through like 1980. And then I skip over the 80s until Freedom, and then I have one or two into the 90s. So the last album that I listened to was On the Beach, and this was the next one that I had in line chronologically, but I wanted to listen to this for a while, but I waited because, let me show you, I'd been waiting for this album to come out. This just came out last week. No, I'm sorry. I got this yesterday from Amazon. I pre-ordered this ages ago. And I think Andrew, Tales from the Crate Andrew, got this on Record Store Day. I didn't know this was a Record Store Day release. But whatever the case may be, I got it. So I was waiting for this one so I could listen to this one. Maybe I can get a good screenshot here if I hold them up here long enough. There we go. That'll be my screenshot, hopefully. So I know I'm nuts. I know I'm OCD that way, but I'm trying to listen to them basically in order. No matter chronological. It doesn't always depend on the actual release date. So back to the original Tonight's the Night album. This is an original copy. It's got that textured cover to it. Here's the back. I've seen this album shown a couple times. I'll just quickly show you the gatefold. And one of the things I noticed in the dead wax on this album, and this is the only album by Neil on the Reprise label that I've seen that has a black label on it. Usually it has the tan Reprise label. But in the dead wax on side 1, it says hello Waterface, and then on side 2 it says goodbye Waterface. I don't know what that necessarily means, but it's just something I noticed. I've heard a lot about this album. A lot of people say that it's, you know, it's like this epic, classic album, and it deals with all of these heavy subjects, which it does, obviously, dealing with drug overdose deaths of his guitarist Danny Whitten and his roadie Bruce Berry. He was a working man. He drove that Econoline van. Let's see. I know this was recorded before On the Beach, but it was released after. Whether it was the record company rejecting it or Neil changing his mind on it, I don't know. All I know is it came out after On the Beach. And listening to it today all the way through for the first time, I mean, it's a rougher sounding Neil album. I mean, it still has his trademark sound. It's just a little bit rougher and rawer than, say, you know, On the Beach or certainly Harvest, which that's a much smoother record than this one. But I didn't get that tortured sense of doom that so many people have said infused this album. Maybe I'd need to listen to it a couple more times to get that. Some people hate this album. Some people love it, think it's a masterpiece. I kind of fall in the middle. It's good. It's certainly worth having. I'm glad I've got it. But I don't know. I don't know what the big deal is, to be perfectly honest. It's a Neil Young album. I mean, if you're a Neil Young fan, you basically know what you're going to get with Neil, I think. Especially in the 70s, because this was his golden period to me. So I like it. I'm glad it's part of my collection. Will I be listening to it a ton of times? No. But every now and then, you never know, it could get pulled. You know, so that along with the live Tonight's the Night at the Roxy Theater. This is a 3-sided album, and I'll show you what's on side 4 here in a second. You can see the track list there. It's basically the whole Tonight's the Night album with a couple of additions, like Walk On is the encore. What else? Roll Another Number for the Road. Is that on Tonight's the Night? I don't know. I don't think it is. Is it? No. So, I mean, there's a couple of other Neil songs, you know, mixed in. Here's the gatefold. And it's also on the black Reprise label, just like the original album. And on side 4, it has an R for the Roxy Theater, I guess. The Roxy Theater R just etched on side 4. In terms of sound, this actually sounds a little bit smoother and nicer than the studio Tonight's the Night. There's a lot of good interplay between Neil and the audience. He does a lot of talking in between songs. And I guess this was one of the legendary shows that people remember from Neil, and I guess this was long awaited to be released by a lot of Neil fans. I honestly didn't really know about it, but when I saw that it was coming out, I had to get it. So the holdup on me continuing my Neil Young listening project was waiting for this album to come out. I know it's nuts. I know I sound like a wacko when I say that, but what can I say? You'll be seeing more Neil Young albums from me in the future, because I'm going to start going through them. I also have a long run of XTC albums, which I know, Hannah, you've been listening to some XTC, and I'm going to start from the beginning. I have their first album. I think I'm only missing English Settlement. I'd have to check. There may be one other album, but I've got pretty much all their albums up to Oranges and Lemons. I don't have the Dukes of Stratosphere, though. Those are other albums I want to get. I want to get those albums as well. But next up is going to be Mr. Young. And hopefully there's a lot of Neil Young fans out there, because I'm a big Neil Young fan. So I don't want to bore you with what's going to be coming up here on future videos. Okay, that's going to be it for today. I will see you guys again soon, hopefully. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. And yeah, peace out, everyone. I'll talk to you soon.